Let's talk about the idea of biblical mentoring. In this video, we're going to talk about what mentoring is as far as how we define it and who should do it. So hopefully you're doing this with a small group leader or a mentor or a pastor or someone like that. And hopefully you're doing this to train yourself up to say, I think I want to do this, but I want to make sure that I get it. I want to make sure I understand what this is, because the world already has ideas about what mentoring is, and it's similar to that. Our concept here, our word for mentoring is in the Bible the same word as the word discipling. If you're going to mentor someone biblically, we're talking about discipling somebody else. See, in the broadest sense, mentoring is personally helping somebody else pursue God. Now, it might be one-on-one. Some mentoring is one-on-one. When we use the term, we just mean in the broadest sense, it's somebody or one or two people coming alongside one or two or more people and helping them to pursue God. So, for example, mom and a dad, this is probably the simplest example. A mom and a dad are biblical mentors at home. They're pastors at home, but they're biblical mentors. Hopefully, they recognize that their responsibility with their kids is to mentor them. In a small group, a leader and a co-leader, in essence, are mentoring their small group. But in another sense, they can go even further and they can go one-on-one and do some one-on-one mentoring, some more personal mentoring as well. So when we use the word mentoring, we're talking about that sort of in the broadest sense. You can talk more about that specifically and what that means. But basically, a mentor is someone who is going to help someone else or a group of people to discover and talk about biblical truth. That's kind of the goal here. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about being a biblical mentor. So what you're doing, you're taking a concept. A mentor takes a concept. Maybe it's from the Bible, specifically just a Bible verse or a passage. Maybe it's after a sermon where a preacher taught on the Bible. Maybe it's in the context of the curriculum online. But you're taking a truth, something that's true, biblically. And a mentor is someone who is helping their small group or their individual to discover that truth and understand it and grapple with it and wrestle with it, talk about it so that ultimately they can live it out. If you use our resources online, every one of our discussion guides is set up for mentoring. So step one on the guide is to discover the truth. And we encourage people to discover the truth on their own before they meet to talk about it, because step two then is to talk about it. And so a good small group leader or mentor knows how to take that discovery that the people did on their own and help them begin to understand it and process it and discover the truth so that ultimately, step three on that discussion guide, they can live it out in their life. So that's what a mentor is doing. A mentor helps someone discover the truth, talk about the truth, process it, and then apply it to their life. Now, that shouldn't be real new to anyone that already uses our resources. I think that all should be reviewed right now. But I want to finish with this question. Well, who should mentor? Who should be a mentor? And really the quick answer, the short answer to that is everyone. Every single Christian should be a mentor. Every single Christian, according to how we define it, should be willing to and feel qualified to walk alongside other people in their life and help them to discover God's truth and to talk about it in their life so that they can eventually apply it. Every single Christian should be able to do it. And we've built our whole library to make that possible, to simplify your job so that you can come alongside your kids, people in your small group, people at your church, people at work, people in your neighborhood, whoever it is. And we'll talk about all of this as we get through this in some of our mentoring videos. But any single Christian should be able to do this. That's our goal. That's what we hope for you. And so naturally that leads to the question that you probably have is, well, what qualifies me to do that? How can I be qualified to do that? And I like to think about qualifications in terms of foundations. Think about what foundations is. If you haven't taken the foundation series, make sure you do it, because all of our resources are based, around those three truths of a pursuit of God. The three things every pursuer of God should do. Number one, trust Jesus. If you haven't trusted Jesus for your own salvation, you need to take care of that first. Make sure you go through that with someone else. Make sure that you come to faith and you understand what that means, real simply, real basically, that you've trusted Jesus for your salvation, that you really are a follower of Jesus, you're a Christian. The second truth of foundations is that we live to honor God. So again, that's a great way to think about it. Am I qualified? Am I living in my life in such a way that's honoring God? Now, this is a tricky one because you might think, well, I've got some sin in my life. I've got some problems. And that doesn't necessarily disqualify you from mentoring. I think that if you have some pretty obvious unrepentant sin, if there are areas in your life that are still secret and that you're holding back and nobody knows about, and you're not honoring God in some of those things, and you don't even really want to submit to God on those things, I think then obviously you probably aren't qualified to be a mentor to help someone else pursue God if you're really not pursuing God for yourself. But generally speaking, most people, if you're submitted to someone else in your life, to a mentor, to a pastor, to a small group leader, to people in your life, you're submitted to God, you're submitted to His people, you're submitted to His word, and you're not living in blatant, unrepentant sin, then you're qualified to help someone else. I hope you understand that. I hope you understand that you can do that. And really, more than anything else, we want you to know that the greatest thing you can do in your life is to help someone else pursue God. So the greatest thing you can do in your life is to mentor someone else, according to our definition. And I hope you would consider doing that. Now, I encourage you to use that discussion guide now. Talk about these talking points with your small group, with your mentor, or with your pastor.